day everyone. Before we start our class, let me give the prayer. Lord, nagpapasalamat po kami sa biyaya at pagpapala na tatanggap namin sa araw-araw. Sana po maging matagumpay ang klase namin ngayon. Bigyan niyo po ang bawat isa ng knowledge and understanding sa lahat ng mababasa at maririnig. Kung dalangin namin sa pangalan ng Panginoon. Class, good day everyone. What's new with you today? I hope you're all doing well and remaining safe throughout the pandemic. Let me begin by introducing myself. I'm Jennessy Navarro, one of your student teachers. Okay class, before we start our class or lesson, let me show you our energizer. It is what we call jumble words. If you know the first, okay, if you know the answer, paki-type sa ating chat box. Okay, may nakakuha na ng sagot. Si Mr. Brillantes. Ang tamang sagot ay airflow sensor. Very good, Mr. Brillantes. Okay, ang next natin na jumble words ay okay, kapag alam ang sagot, paki-type na lang sa ating chat box. Kung may nakakuha na ng sagot, ang tamang sagot dyan ay hot wire. Very good, Mr. Samocha. Okay, I think you are ready to begin our lesson. Welcome, BIT to you. So, our topic for today is about mass airflow sensor, hot wire type or MAF. Okay, before we begin, let us know what our objective is. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to first, define hot wire type sensor. And the second is, recognize the components of the hot wire type sensor. And third, discuss operation of the hot wire sensor. And then, test the operation of the MAF hot wire type sensor. And last, is observe the safety precaution when testing the operation of the hot wire type sensor. Okay class? Let's start. Our today's topic is all about mass airflow sensor, especially the hot wire type. Okay? The mass airflow or MAF sensor measures the amount of passing air going through the air intake system. The sensor measures the amount of passing air with a resistive platinum wire that is placed in the airstream of the air intake system. The resistive wire has a positive temperature coefficient. The higher the temperature, the higher the resistance of the wire. Okay, the electronics in our airflow meter send an amount of current through the wire to warm it up. The wire temperature is kept constant. When more air passes the wire, the more current is needed to keep the wire. at a constant temperature. The current that flows through the wire is a measure for the amount of passing air. The current is measured by the electronics in the sensor and converted to a voltage at the output of the sensor. The engine control unit, or what we call ECU, calculates the amount of air going in the combustion chambers from this voltage. The primary components of the MAF sensor are a thermistor, platinum hot wire, and an electronic control circuit. The thermistor measures the temperature of the incoming air. The hot wire is maintained at a constant temperature in relation to the thermistor by the electronic control circuit. An increase in airflow will cause the hot wire to lose heat faster, and the electronic control circuit will compensate by sending more current through the wire. The electronic control circuit simultaneously measures the current flow and puts out a voltage signal, or what we call VG, in proportion to current flow. A hot wire mass airflow sensor has a small electrically heated wire, hot wire. A temperature sensor installed close to the hot wire measures the temperature of the air near the hot wire. So, when the engine is idling, a small amount of air flows around the hot wire. So, it takes a very low electric current to keep the wire hot. When you press the gas, the throttle opens, allowing more air to flow more over the hot wire. The passing air cools the wire down. The more air flows over the wire, the more electrical current is needed to keep it up and to keep it hot. The electric current is proportional to the amount of airflow. A small the electric current into a digital signal and sends it to the engine computer. The PCM uses the airflow signal to calculate how much fuel to inject. So the hot wire type MAF sensor responds to temperature changes in the heating element, changes in the resistance value, and current of the heating element are converted into proportional voltage in the control circuit and then sent to the ECU to calculate the amount of engine intake air volume. This is type of MAF sensor. It is also called as an intake air temperature, or IAT sensor. As part of the housing assembly, its operation is described in the IAT section of temperature sensors. When looking at the EWD, there is a ground for the MAF sensor and a ground for E2 for the IAT sensor. This is diagnosis of the MAF sensor involves visual, circuit, and component check. The MAF sensor passage must be free to debris to operate properly. If the passage is plunged, the engine will usually start, but run poorly or stall and may not set a DTC. The plus B terminal supplies voltage for the MAF sensor. VG is the MAF signal and E2G is the ground. THA terminal supplies 5 volts for the IAT sensor and E2 is the ground. MAF ground circuit check is performed with an ohmmeter. Ay, maintindihan niyo yung mga nasa picture natin. Mamaya may papanood ako sa inyo yung video para mas lalo niyo pang maintindihan at maunawain. Okay? Most MAF sensors can be checked by supplying power in the ground to the right terminals, connecting a voltmeter to the signal or what we call VG wire, and blowing air through the sensor. Okay, class. Before we continue, I will present a video for you, for all of you, so that you can see how the actual testing is done, so that we can understand it better. Okay. So first, connect the SSTS, and after that, you need to connect the voltmeter negative probe to battery negative terminal. And then, identify THA terminal, turn your ignition switch on. THA terminal supplies 5 volts for the IAT sensor. And then, identify the plus B terminal, turn on your ignition switch. The plus B terminal supplies voltage for the MAF sensor. It is 12 volts. And then connect the voltmeter positive test probe to battery positive terminal. And then you need to identify the VG terminal. The VG is the MAF signal line and approximately 11 volts. And after that, you need to connect the SST to MAF sensor. And then you need to connect the voltmeter positive probe to VG terminal. And then connect the voltmeter negative probe to E2G terminal. And after that, check MAF sensor operation voltage. Increases as you blow air through the sensor. As you can see, the reading. Yeah, as you can see, the reading is changing when you blow air through the sensor. See? That was good. Ayan, nag-iiba-iba yung reading niya. And that was good. So, let's continue. Okay. Why do you have to remove those? This is our safety precautions. Remove rings, metal, watches, and bracelets. So why do you have to remove those? Because of course, watch, yung mga relo natin, di ba, can get cut when you pull something. The ring can be hit by electricity. Ayun nga, syempre yung mga ring natin, metal yun, di ba? Lalo na kapag gumagawa tayo ng sasakyan, no? Tapos nadikit yung natin, metal natin sa isang sa ground. Maaring metal yun, di ba? Maaring makuryente tayo. And then, remove IDs and any loose clothing before beginning work. Ayan nga yung mga ID natin, di ba? List natin, hindi natin alam. Gumagawa tayong sasakyan, hindi natin alam, naka-ID pa tayo, nakasuot tayo ID, tapos gumagawa tayo doon. Biglang sinabi nyo na start natin yung sasakyan. Biglang in-start, tapos yung ID mo, di mo alam, may ID kang suot. Biglang inatak yun ng fan, no? So, delikado yung gano'n natin. Avoid touching hot engine parts. Yan, alam naman natin yung mga ganyan, no? Mga mainit na parts sa sasakyan natin, delikado siya. Avoid horseplaying, yan. Mga horseplaying. Yan, nung nag-OJT kami, example, no? Gumagawa kami sa sasakyan nun. Patapos na kami, tapos nasa, part ng battery. And then, syempre, kasiyahan yun. Kasama mo yung mga kaibigan mo. Gumagawa yung sasakyan. Nagalaw niya yung yung combi sa battery. Biglang pumutok yun. Syempre, nataranta kami. Buti may doon, isang regular doon. Alam niya yung gagawin. So, kaya mas importante talaga na kapag wala ka masyadong alam, wag kang mangunguna talaga. Yun. Delikado siya. So, okay class? Your activity for today, in 10 minutes, answer these following questions, no? And then send your answer in our comment section. So, the question is, in your own words, explain the purpose of mass airflow sensor. Paki-comment na lang sa ating chat box. And then, question number 2, what are these terminals? I give you 10 minutes. So anyone, if you know the answer, please type in our comment box. Yung video pala natin na pinanood ko sa inyo is kinikredit ko yun kay Sir Pamulo, no? Kung nakikita niyo, siya mismo yung nag-video nun, siya mismo yung gumagawa nun. Para syempre makatulong din sa iba, no, na para mas madagdagan pa yung kaalaman nila din about dun sa ginagawa ni Sir. So yun, meron na ba? Ayan, mukhang may sagot na tayo. Galing kay Mr. Brillantes. Okay, ang kanyang sagot ay, the engine control unit or ECU needs the air mass information to balance and deliver the correct fuel mass to the engine. Temperature and pressure influence the density of air. Air density changes with ambient temperature, altitude, and the usage of force, induction in automotive applications. Hence, mass flow sensors are better than volumetric flow sensors or estimating the amount of intake air in each cylinder. The plus B terminal supplies voltage for the MAF sensor, and the VG is MAF signal line, and the E2G is the ground. THA terminal supplies 5 volts for the IAT sensor, and E2 is the ground. So, very good, Mr. Brillantes. Salamat sa napakagandang sagot, no? So, anyway, baka may sasagot na iba dyan.
Sir, sa number 1.
So, number 1, yes, Mr. Casalmer.
Ano sir, sa tawag dito? Ang purpose ng sir, ng MAF sir, responsible siya for calculating the total amount of air na pumapasok sa engine.
Yes, very good answer, Mr. Casalmer. So, okay, let's continue to our, before we end our class. This is your assignment for our next meeting. Write your answer in a yellow paper and take a clear, readable picture of your work and send it to my Gmail. This is my Gmail, no? janessinavar1@gmail.com. Wait, baka may humahabol. The manifold absolute pressure sensor is one of the sensors used in an internal combustion engines. Electronic control system engines that use a MAP sensor are typically fuel injected. The manifold absolute pressure sensor provides instantaneous manifold pressure information to the engine's electronic control unit. Okay, that's good. Okay. So, class, thank you for listening. Sana may naunawaan kayo, no? Okay, dagdag knowledge sa bawat isa. Salamat. And before we end, no, so, all in all, class, your mass airflow sensor, MAF sensor, is a piece of technology within your engine which tells your car's computer how much air is entering the engine. This is important as it allows your engine to regulate its performance and change the intake of air to keep your engine running in its best condition. And class, that's all for today, class. Thank you for listening. And before we end our class, maaari bang mag-open ka ng bawat isa para sa ating documentation? Okay, class? Mr. Casalmer?